Hello, fourth grade readers. It's Mrs. Lamondo back with your Fontes and Pinnell mini lesson of the day. Today we're going to combine two different lessons into one to look a little bit more at elements of a story. So let's get started. Oopsie, let me go back. I apologize. Okay, today we are at LA U25 lesson 5, and we're also going to go into lesson 6 today. So I have a book here, These Hands. This is a book that we may not be familiar with yet, but I want to read just a few pages of this book to you. First, I'm going to read pages 1 to 2. I want you to think about what's happening between the boy and his grandpa. So here's pages 1 to 2. Look at these hands, Joseph. Did you know these hands used to tie a triple bowline knot in 3 seconds flat? Well, I can still help a young fellow learn to tie his shoes. Yes, I can. So at the beginning of our story, right, Grandpa is talking about what he used to be like when he was younger, and he's also helping his grandson tie his shoes. Let's turn to pages 9 to 10. What do you notice about the illustrations and what's going on in this part of the story? Look at these hands, Joseph. Did you know these hands were not allowed to mix the bread dough in the Wonder Bread factory? Did you know these hands were not allowed to touch the bread dough in the Wonder Bread factory? These hands were only allowed to sweep the floors and work the line and load the trucks because the bosses said white people would not want to eat bread touched by these hands. So we can see there, right? Grandpa is telling his grandson Joseph about what it was like when he was a kid. We could consider this a flashback. Here's a book that we've read a lot of, Kamashibi Man. So remember, are there parts in this story that are present day? And are there parts that are flashbacks? Yes, there are. There are parts that are present day and other parts that are flashbacks. So today we noticed through 2 books that we used that authors sometimes use flashbacks. If you aren't already reading a fiction book, please choose one to read today. As you're reading, notice if the author uses the literary device of flashing back to an earlier time or moving around in time from the present to the past. Today I want you to think about a book that you're reading right now, and I want you to think about what you know about the main character so far. Based on what you know so far, what do you predict will happen next? What evidence from the book makes you think that? So I hope you're thinking of a prediction right now from your book. Remember, we always need to base it in evidence. That means you can't just say, I think that Joseph's grandpa is going to tell him about when he was a kid. You have to ground it in evidence. I might say, I predict that Joseph's grandfather is going to continue to talk about when he was younger because he tells a story of not being allowed to bake bread in the Wonder Bread factory. You can see the difference, right? I was able to ground my prediction in the text. So remember, when you make a prediction, to ground your prediction in evidence from the book. Can you make a prediction about a book you are reading? So how do you predict, though? How do you know? There's a couple different ways. You can look at the front or the back cover for clues. You can think about what the character has said so far. You can think about what the character has done so far. You can think about what you've learned about the character or what others have said about the character. And you can think about what has happened in the story that gives you a hint. I'm going to read a little bit further into the story so that we can hear if my prediction came true. Now any hands can mix the bread dough no matter their color. Now any hands can touch the bread dough no matter their color. Yes, they can. So we can see how when Grandpa was younger, he lived in a very racist and segregated place. And now, not as much. Look at these hands, Grandpa. These hands used to not be able to tie his shoe, or play the piano, or shuffle cards, or hit the ball. Now I can do all that, plus bake a fine loaf of bread, can't I? So fourth grade readers, when you are reading today and any day, make sure that you are thinking about your reading and you're stopping to predict what might happen next. You can do this with fiction books. Please make sure that you read for 20 minutes. Also, make sure that you complete your reading response. If you need help with that, please check in with your teacher. Until next time, fourth grade readers, bye.